One of the biggest risks in Nigeria real estate is land scam. Many investors lose millions of naira every year simply because they fail to verify land titles before making payments. As a matter of fact, research shows that over 60% of property listings in Nigeria lack ownership details, thereby making fraud easier. This simply means that many buyers are investing based on emotions, based on incomplete or misleading information. Globally speaking, real estate remains one of the fastest vehicles of wealth creation, wealth retention, and wealth transfer. However, it must be done with proper understanding, due diligence, and accurate knowledge of property law in order to ensure its sustainability, security, and safety. In this video, we'll be looking at title documents and the different types or levels of titles in Nigeria. So you may want to watch this video to the very end because the information I'll be sharing with you in this video can literally help you to spot land scam whenever they present themselves. Also, like, drop a comment, subscribe, and share this video to people within your network, because on this channel we do not just bring you the very best real estate investment opportunities, we also educate you on how you can safely and rightly invest using facts and data. My name is Iyayi Aibuedefe. I'm the shortest distance between you and the right real estate investment here in the city of Abuja. I help my clients build sure and sustainable wealth that is transgenerational. Now, first things first, what is a title document? Think of a title document like you would think of a car papers. Imagine, for an instance, you buy a car. You are being presented a document that shows ownership of that car. And if you decide to sell that car, another document is being prepared to transfer ownership from you to the new buyer. So in the same vein, land works exactly the same way. In context, a title document is any document that is recognizable, acceptable, and registrable in a property jurisdiction, which serve as a means of proving or transferring title, interest, and ownership from a seller to a buyer. Now, there are core elements or features that must be captured before a document can be referred to as a title document. First, it must be a legal instrument. In other words, it must be legally prepared to create or transfer ownership rights. And the second core element is that it must be recognizable, acceptable, and registrable in a property jurisdiction. Not all documents accepted in one location or state may be accepted in another location. For an instance, in Benin City, Edo State, Oba's approval is one of the documents that is popularly known. But if you come to a place like Abuja and someone tells you that the title is Oba's approval, immediately it raises serious red flags. Why? Because Abuja operates strictly under government allocation system backed up by the Land Use Act of 1978. So as an investor, you must always ask, is this title recognized in this state where you are about to make that investment? And the third core element that a title document must capture is that it must prove or transfer ownership. A title document can perform two functions: proof of ownership and transfer of ownership. Now, let's quickly look at title versus title document. And this is where most investors get it mixed up. They confuse title with title document. Now, both of them are two different things. Now, when we talk about title, title simply means ownership status, while title document is the proof of ownership. Let me give you a vivid example. I am a graduate of University of Benin and I study agricultural economics and extension services. Now, let's assume I am to fill a form and they ask, are you a graduate? I will simply say I am a graduate, and if they want to further probe if I am truly a graduate of University of Benin, they will ask for my certificate. Now, in this case, being a graduate is my status, and the proof that I actually graduated is my certificate. So in the same vein, every land has a title, which is the ownership status of that land. And the proof of ownership of that land is referred to as the title document. Every land in Nigeria falls under three types of title. The first is customary title. This is rooted in tradition, culture, custom, family, and community. For an instance, Mr. A clears and farms on a piece of land for over 20 years without any dispute. He automatically lay claim over that land because of his presence in that land, and people within that community recognize him as the legal owner of that land. And if he dies, his son, Mr. B, takes over the land through inheritance. So this type of title that Mr. A and Mr. B has over this land is referred to as customary title. Some of the things you must know as an investor about customary title is that first, there is no formal document about the land. Secondly, ownership is proved primarily through witnesses, traditional rulers, and community heads. The second type of title is called equitable title. Equitable title is created when a transaction is backed by a formal document, but the document is not registered with the government. Now, in the instance of the example that I earlier gave, if Mr. B, who is the son of Mr. A, decides to sell the land to Mr. C, and the lawyer prepares a deed of assignment in order to formalize the transaction as well as create extra layer of security, this type of title is referred to as equitable title. In equitable title, there is a formal document that proves ownership of the land. However, ownership is not yet recognized by the government. And the third type of title is referred to as legal title. This is the highest and most secure form of title in Nigeria. A legal title is directly backed and recognized by the government under the authority of the Land Use Act of 1978. Now, in continuation of my story, if Mr. C decides to use a deed of assignment to apply for a C of O, now that C of O becomes a legal title. You can see the transition from customary title where there is no formal documentation to equitable title where there is formal document but not yet recognized by the government, so a legal title that ownership is recognized by the government. Let's quickly talk about a concept called the root of title. Every land has an ownership history, and lawyers refer to that as the root of title. The root of title simply attempt to answer one critical question: how did this land move from the first owner to the present owner? Now, in the scenario that I gave, you can clearly see how ownership moved from Mr. A to Mr. B and then to Mr. C. When a lawyer is carrying out due diligence before advising his client to buy a particular land, one of the core things he does is to verify the root of title. In other words, he tries to trace ownership from the very first owner of that land to the present owner. When any of the links of the chain is faulty, the entire transaction can collapse. The last thing we need to quickly look at is, why is Abuja real estate different? Now, it is possible for you to succeed as an investor investing in other states, and when you come to Abuja, you will fail woefully. The reason is because Abuja real estate is unique. In other words, there are certain things that play out in the Abuja market that you need to understand. The first thing you need to get is that the Federal Capital Territory operates under stricter law in the enforcement of the Land Use Act of 1978 and the FCT Act of 1976. This simply implies that in most states, you can buy land from individual and family and then apply for a C of O. However, in Abuja, you are legally supposed to obtain land directly from the government through an allocation process. And another thing that is worthy to note is that customary titles hold little weight in the FCT because the federal government took over all ancestral land originally belonging to the Gbagi people and allocated new plots to them with government paper. What this means is that if you are investing in Abuja, be very suspicious of anyone selling community or family land. Secondly, your key document is either your right of occupancy, your certificate of occupancy, or in some cases, letter of intent for mass housing purpose. And it must be issued by the Federal Capital Development Authority. And then you must learn to trace every title back to government allocation. When you do all of this, it will be difficult for you to fall prey of land scam in Nigeria and of course in Abuja. And I do hope you have learned one or two things that you can use in your next transaction. So if you are yet to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, kindly do so now, because you do not know the person you will likely be saving by sharing this video. Once again, my name is Iyayi Ibuedefe, I'm the shortest distance between you and the right real estate investment here in the city of Abuja. I help my clients build sure and sustainable wealth that is transgenerational. Until I come your way in our next video, see you on the other side of wealth. Bye for now.